Right, so well, we heard from David Haye. He blamed Dereck Chisora for instigating the brawl between the pair that followed that heavyweight loss to WBC champion Vitaly Klitschko at the weekend. I mean, lots of things said in that statement from Haye. One thing that he did say was he caused a serious disturbance to occur, something which threatened to damage the reputation of the sport we both love. That was what Haye said about Chisora. Well, Dereck Chisora has now released his own statement, and this is what he says. Following the extensive media coverage that my WBC World Heavyweight title challenge against Vitaly Klitschko in Munich at the weekend has attracted, I feel I must wholeheartedly apologise for my part in the regrettable scenes both before and after what was to be the biggest night of my career. Chisora goes on to say, whilst my behaviour was inexcusable, there were many things that went on behind the scenes that ultimately caused my frustrations to boil over. However, this, of course, is no excuse. I cannot go into the specific details at the moment, as quite rightly, the British Boxing Board of Control will be investigating this matter, and also the altercation that took place between David Haye and myself, where I was struck by a bottle. So, Chisora is saying that he was struck by a bottle on Saturday evening. Despite all of this, he goes on to say, the bottom line is, I've let my family, my team, and worst of all, the sport I love down. I acknowledge that my actions were totally unprofessional, with or without provocation. Now, with a cool head and the benefit of hindsight, my actions at the weekend were regrettable, to say the least. I'm deeply embarrassed at the scenes reported in the media. I acknowledge that I have a duty as a professional boxer to conduct myself properly at all times, especially with boxing being a sport of controlled aggression. I've let lots of people down on Saturday, including myself, and for that I'm truly sorry. He said, I will be making no further comment at this stage and will wait for any formal hearing to take place. So that the statement from Dereck Chisora, who apologises profusely for what happened the other evening.
So it goes on and on, doesn't it? Certainly Dereck Chisora sounding a bit more humble than David Haye did earlier on. Let's get more on it. The manager of the Klitschko brothers joins us now live on Sky Sports News from Germany this afternoon. He is Bernd Boente. Bernd, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us, Bernd. What did you think of what you saw emerging in front of you on Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, believe me, we all, Fritz Dunek, the coach, Vitaly and myself couldn't believe it. Yeah, we were standing there. We could not really see what was happening later. We only saw Chisora rushing down from the dais towards David Haye, and then it was in the back of the room. Then I don't know what happened there. We only heard shouting, and then people fell over each other. And then, like you probably, we saw the rest on YouTube later.
Well, it certainly, had major ramifications for the sport, Bernd. David Haye says today that you involved him in the press conference, and that is why he involved himself thereafter. So do you think you carry some of the blame for involving Haye as well?
No, I mean, first of all, Adam Booth asked me for if we wanted to have them ringside to promote a possible fight, and I told him 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago that we are not interested in that. We will not give him tickets or give them tickets because we don't see that fight happening. And then he got his tickets through Box Nation and BBC Radio, where they both worked as co-commentators for that evening. And then through that credential, both came to the press conference. We had not invited them to the press conference, and we did not even wanted to have them both at the fight because we don't need additional PR. But he probably wanted, David Haye, this PR, and that's why he came to the press conference. I mean, it was a press conference after the WBC world title fight, and we did not want him there. And then he was talking to us because English journalists asked me, what about that fight? And I said that fight is not happening because the Haye side was out bargaining themselves out of that fight because their requests and demands are way too high, and we don't want to go into any risk for that fight. And that was it. And then suddenly Haye started shouting, Vitaly is afraid of him, and Vitaly, when do you want to fight me, and so on. And then I told him from the dais that that contrary to him in the Vladimir fight, that Dereck Chisora showed great heart, and he only showed his toe in the fight, and that was it. And then Chisora started discussing with him about his performance and so on, and then Haye said, you lost 3 times, and so on, and then the rest you know.
All right, the rest we know. Bernd, just in a word, just a couple of questions. Should Chisora be allowed to fight again?
I don't want to go into these things with British Border Boxing. We know Charlie Giles, the president. I'm very sure he's a close friend and a perfect president. I know him, and knowing him, I know that he will definitely take the right action.
Okay,
and I can give you also the news, by the way, from the German boxing board of control here. The BDB, they sent us a letter today, an official letter, to keep $100,000 US from Chisora's purse, depending on a hearing, and pending on a hearing, and then we'll see what comes next.
Okay, so Chisora's 100,000 down. In a word, if he wants to fight again, should he be allowed to?
Who?
David Haye.
David Haye.
Yeah.
Also up to Charlie Giles. I will not get into internal discussions and decisions of the British Board of Boxing. I'm sitting here in Germany, and that's really up to, that was a brawl between 2 British fighters, and I'm pretty sure that Charlie Giles and his people will take the right actions.
Okay, I think you took the right action. You stayed out of it. Bernd, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I would not go near it.
Right, we'll continue to bring you much more on the big breaking news.
David Haye has released a statement saying he'd be happy to assist the boxing authorities in their investigation of the brawl. Chisora has apologised for his part in the incident.